Thank you for joining us again on TVC Breakfast. Well, telecommunications companies and banks in Nigeria have been hit by a major internet outage as a result of damage to international undersea cables supplying them with connectivity. And TVC News gathers that the damage also affected major undersea cables near Abidjan in Cote d'Ivoire. It's also causing downtime in West and South African countries. The West Africa cable system, as well as the Africa coast to Europe, main one and SAT3 cables are also affected. Here in Nigeria, some bank networks have been down, unable to process transactions as a result of the internet outage. Telecom subscribers, especially those on MTN, have also been complaining of poor data experience since last Thursday. In the banking space, we understand that Sterling Bank is one of those hit by the cable damage, as the bank's network was shut down and couldn't process any transactions. Meanwhile, Main One, a digital infrastructure service provider, on Saturday said it had restored service to some customers and was actively working on restoring all services through capacity acquired on available cable systems. We have a technology expert joining us now to tell us some more, explain to Nigerians why we're experiencing this kind of outage. Stephen Onia is with us. Good to see you again. Welcome. And you were saying that even you, with all your expertise, with all your expertise, you also have a story to share.
Yeah, our entire facility was shut down when it comes to the internet working for Thursday, Friday, and you know our job is internet oriented. We we are almost paralyzed without the internet. We had a major meeting on Friday, and I remember myself just sitting there clicking connect. I clicked it more than 100 times, just trying to make sure I don't miss this meeting. We tried all strategies, and I feel that's what it is.
Okay, and how are things now? Really, are you also among the chunk of Nigerians that you've been restored somewhat?
Well, what we experienced is what will bring our disaster recovery strategy into play. So we recovered quickly. We quickly had to find alternatives. So it's not a function of whether the internet was restored. It's a function of whether did we get the right alternatives quickly. So that's the disaster recovery strategy.
Talking about disaster recovery, Thursday, Friday wasn't a good, Personally, I was left stranded. No cash, no internet and all of that. Many Nigerians too would have experienced such, and you could not even transfer or do any transactions online. Now, is this a wake-up call for us?
All right. I think, pardon me, let me construct the way so that people can understand properly.
Yeah.
Because at least for the first time, people need to understand the reality of how the internet actually works. The internet, we are just used to opening a browser on our phone and we connect. And that's all we probably know about the internet. Now, the internet is powered by a backbone, which powers our intercontinental data traffic. For example, most of, if you find yourself trying to get something online, maybe you are accessing a resource from a payment provider in the US, or you are accessing a content from a content provider in another country, you are doing an intercontinental data request. Very important, that the internet is probably just a network of computers. You can see it as simple as that, like having a cable plugging one computer to another. That's in layman's terms, that's the best. And the intercontinental data cables are what powers the internet. Picture our electrical grid. I want to give you an analogy so you can understand how the internet truly works. Picture our electrical grid. We have the main grid where we have our cables. Then you want to connect your house to the main grid. Then you connect the cable from the main grid to your house. Then you want to connect your room to the grid in your house now. You connect it, then you want to connect a microwave in your kitchen to the kitchen. So basically there are levels of network infrastructure that continually connect us in hierarchical structures till it gets to your phone. Just picture it like that. Okay. So your phone is like the termination point where you the quick request. Now you see, this backbone is not out of the ordinary to think that I heard people say, how can Nigeria be dependent on one cable? We're not depending on one cable, for goodness sake. We are not. We're not depending on one cable. With 4 cables that seem to be cut, and which is normal. Cutting cables is not new. about 100 to 200 cable get cut every year.
But we don't experience the
Yes.
kind of outage that we experience.
I
this
can't
week.
remember. us
No, I mean
experiencing-
cutting cables globally.
Globally, yes.
Norway had their share of experience in 2012. We had a lot. Or the Middle East had their experience. The cutting cables seem to be the reality of the internet because most of the time it's not due to sabotage. Most of the time.
Wear and tear? Could it be wear?
Yeah, it could be wear and tear due to the activities of the undersea, where the fiber is rumbling against the rocks or something, and west it could happen. It could be an anchor where a ship, for example, the incidents in Middle East, we had 2 ships impounded because it was discovered that it was their cable, it was their anchor that actually destroyed the fiber optics cable that supplied then. So it was normal. Also, we had an incident in Egypt where it was actually sabotage, where Egypt arrested 2 people for deliberately trying to cut fiber optics cable. Now, we have a lot of cables coming into Nigeria, and we can't do without them. But I think instead of a wake-up call, this is a signal of our resilience in this country. I won't lie to you. I would give a pass mark to how we managed this situation from Thursday till now. It's an indication of how resilient we actually are when it comes to recovering quickly from a disaster.
Have we recovered?
No, we can't. We've not recovered. Let me explain something. You see, when you have a cable capacity and you have it truncated, it doesn't mean you are completely out. Yes, you are rerouted to another cable or rerouted to another capacity on a subscribed or borrowed cable.
Okay.
So, yes, we are currently not functioning at our maximum capacity, but to expect that we're back, we are not completely back, but we are not where we were. Because I remember at some point I couldn't even do anything. But now, some way, I'm getting a bit of bandwidth. Now, what you are experiencing, I must be very fair to the telcos, it's normal. It's not normal to have a cable cut. Nobody wants that kind of experience. But having unexplainable scenarios that causes a cable to be damaged undersea is normal. I remember clearly the International Telecommunication Union at some point referenced a cable cut and said it was due to sabotage. They assumed, and it was later discovered it wasn't sabotage. So there are a lot, cable cut is normal, just that we are experiencing in Nigeria, and it's kind of strange to us. And some people have been asking us, should we move to satellite communication? And I'm one of those that believe the internet cannot do without the core backbone on the sea. Even satellite communication at some point terminates back to the main grid. So we can't do without that, yeah.
Right. Let's talk about losses now. Telecoms banks will, I wonder if you could quantify or talk about the quality of losses. Even, regular customers will also be reeling somewhat. But how much of a damage, has this period, cost us as a nation?
It's monumental. It's monumental, and we can't really quantify it accurately until we get a report. Now, I want to believe there are background activities going on right now, because it's good to assume as such, because NCC have put their word on this matter. The ministers have also put their word on this matter. And the reason why I say there are background activity, I believe they should start collecting data, and not just data based on cooking up numbers. You need to start investigating this damage, because I've realized nobody have at least tried to picture. One told us the chance of it being a sabotage is slim, that because of the distance to shore and the depth. So we need them to collect it and really publish what is the impact of this outage. Because I told you it's a test of our resilience, which have shown we have capacity in this country. I won't lie to you. When this whole drama started on Thursday, as at the time it started, I got to discover around 5 p.m. And at the point, I couldn't even picture it was an undersea cable cut. I was just there, like, what's going on? And suddenly I realized, there was an undersea cable cut, and my team were making calls to try and do a survey. Are you having internet issues? And we realized not everybody were having internet issues.
Even then?
Yes, even on Thursday. Not everybody, because the cables that were damaged, there are 4 of them, and we have more than 4 cables that branches into Nigeria. Like, for example, we have the Google Equino cable, it branches into Nigeria. We have the Glow One cable, unaffected, it has no damage. So and there are some banks that had no disruption at all, because they were some are powered by another cable that was not main ones or the others. The only challenge I have is the speed with which may one absolve itself of the of all this contractual obligation by declaring a force majeure. It's very challenging because part of your responsibility as a provider is to provide alternative options, not just because you have a damage and you absolve yourself of the contract at that point in time. But I stand to be corrected. I hope one will do investigations. They will publish their reports. They will give us the alternative approaches. But we should also praise one because if you look at it in a way that is not biased, one has been championing cable protection in this country for a long time. One have played a major role in making sure cables are protected when they terminate to landing stations. Sure, they've done played a significant role in that. However, we need them to show us how, because you see, the way you react to a disaster and the way you position yourself when there's no disaster are two different things. We've always seen one as this big champion of cable protection. Now, for the first time, your cable is damaged. We are really interested in seeing what are the reports and the processes you will put in place going forward when this happens. I have no doubt that our cable is probably protected. I have no doubt that they are rerouting us and providing alternative capacity. But what we want is, yes, they've said they are going to do this will take months to fix. It doesn't get fixed overnight. It doesn't get fixed overnight because a ship will have to go and bring the repairer, technicians, technically. One will also need to inspect the junction. There are a lot of things.
Under the sea.
Yes, this takes weeks, you understand. But what we want to see is publish your disaster recovery approach because we are dependent on you as a nation. And 55%, above 55% of the world's internet data traffic is powered by Undersea. Okay.
So talking about dependency, Nigerians are dependent on banks, and a lot of them failed in that aspect. At least they should have opened by weekend so people can get some cash withdrawals and all of that. Many people were stranded. Our recovery process in all of these things, do we even have plans for disaster management?
Okay, good. I like that. I think I want to put this plan you're requesting now what I call the business continuity plan. The business continuity plan. Now, I've worked with a lot of banks and I can confidently say they have business continuity plans on paper. I'm 100%.
On paper?
We've never really seen a disaster that tested them, really. so I know a lot of them have business continuity plans in place. Now, it's very hard to react speedily to a scenario that you never foresaw or predicted. It's very not as easy. Now, my bank was down, but I won't mention the name. My bank was down, but I gave them these tolerance for their incompetence. I mean, my assumption then, because I never knew there was an internet undersea cable cut. So I was like, what's going on with this bank again? Then I went on, this was going on.
This bank again.
Now, the truth is, the recovery from disaster is not as simple as we all think.
Okay.
Particularly when it's a disaster that is not 100% within your control. So when a bank struggles to get you back online or to full capacity, or when they downscale operations just to make sure they manage their own resources, it would be a bit unfair to assume that, okay, why would they go down? The first question I ask myself is, why won't they go down?
So they have gone down, understandably so. But what other measures should they put in place? Because as it is, in as much as we depend on the internet, if the banks possibly were open on Saturday, I'm not sure Nigerians will have been stranded this much.
Okay, I'm happy you said that. I believe I've also seen some banks, BCP, that's the business continuity plan, where they have a Saturday option. As an
many of them have.
A quick reaction. But the truth is, I wouldn't want to condemn the banks. At the same time, I want to, because if you are going to open on Saturday, you're still going to come back and use the same internet or alternative internet plans. Now, switching whatever infrastructure you have from one provider to another, particularly when the main provider is absorbing itself from the contract. I don't know how complicated their subscription, because there are several approaches to cable system services. And I don't know the contract they have. It would be very unfair on me to say they did not perform by not opening on Saturday. Because my question is, okay, if they open on Saturday, what if they also don't have internet on Saturday? But but the bank's core services, because we need to understand what core services are like in bank. Some of them really manage, because if we don't speak well of some of them that manage to recover, manage to route us alternatively, or manage to give us services eventually, or process our service in a delayed scenario, we need to give them that just give them, because the truth is what happened is actually a force majeure situation. If you look at it technically, because there's
Yes,
no
I was getting to that. Is it safe now, despite your concerns? Is it safe now to rule it as an act of God or a force majeure, as you
absolutely
as you say?
yes, absolutely
it's
yes,
safe now.
absolutely,
but then
yes.
you are also calling
as a
on
Thursday it was then it was way too early. There should be alternative. The truth is, alternative network redundancy in networking. That's when you network cables, redundancy. You have plans that if this thing get terminated. And the truth is, when they run these cables, it takes years to run a cable, and it costs millions of dollars. The truth, these people they're businesses. 55% of the world's intercontinental cable are run by private companies. Over 55%, private companies. I think only about 11% is by state-owned infrastructure. They are doing business. You see, when you run a cable, let's even assume we are connecting a computer there to a computer here. A good network engineer thinks redundancy. You are building extra capacity. You are building recovery capacity. So the same approach would have applied on the intercontinental cables, undersea cables. So for us, I believe there will be plans to, but those plans might not be in full capacity like we had before. But to think that there will be no alternatives, this matter is not as complicated as.
You mentioned the rerouting, system, so to speak, that maybe may have helped some companies to recover more quickly than others. Does it come with the package? When I say package now, this kind of investments that telecom companies need to make, in a business or a venture of this magnitude, does it come, or is it like an extra investment that you feel will be the way to go or should be the way to go in future for all businesses operating in this terrain?
I think the function of rerouting and providing alternative options is not really the function of the business, it's the function of the cable provider.
Okay.
Because the cable provider, when you laid your cable on the sea, at times you have contractual obligation with another cable provider, like, let me have some space here, sure, in case. At times you have plans to reroute. So it's not a function of the business. Now, if you see we're getting back online gradually, everybody, but not in full capacity. That means they are making alternative plans for us. And I heard someone called me, I got it of course, and they said Nigeria is offline. I said Nigeria is not offline. Only this case, the cables that were offline. And some cables are still functioning. Some people didn't even know there was outage. Some people heard it on the news. Some people didn't know that, okay, some banks didn't even go offline. Because I remember this, I know that I won't mention the name. Some banks are powered by Glow One cable, which is not the main one cable. They didn't go offline. There was nothing wrong with the Glow One cable. There was nothing wrong with the Google Equinox branch in Nigeria. So, but some way, somehow, internet working out, they're all connected. And they're all, I don't want to use the word dependent, but related. You understand? When you plant internet networks, the truth is you can't do anything without some of these disasters, particularly when it comes to networking. It's just that this looks strange to us. It seems strange. And it's not strange across the world. It's not strange. Cable cut is normal. Undersea cable is normal. Satellite backup, alternative backup is normal. Redundancy is normal. There are a lot of things that are very normal. Yes, they are disasters, but network companies are always prepared for them.
Okay, and do you see any data breaches in all of this?
No, I don't. Well, let me reference something. You see, the United States Navy gave an analysis about the state of undersea cables across the world. Now, and there's a strategic advantage undersea cable has to people in countries like the U.S. But at least if I remember correctly, there are over 88 cables that terminate with the U.S. Over different cables terminating with the U.S. And there are over $10 trillion transactions going on these cables. Now imagine an authoritarian government hijacking the internet topology and maybe cutting cables physically and rerouting networks. No, it's not. So there's a strategic attention being given to undersea cables globally. Everyone in the world knows undersea cables have a strategic relevance to every country, and every country wants to be connected. We have the Asia, Africa, Europe that connected Asia to Europe. We have a cable that does that. We have the Europe-India gateway. We have a cable that does that. We have the Polar Express. We have the Southern Cross for Australia. Every country has their own cable. The only challenge I seem to have is the instrument of government that has been associated with these incidents. because I think it would have been a good time for our country to make a statement that is not accusational and at the same time not too calm, so that they can
what
know.
You're saying on ground?
Yes, that's what it would have been nice if the government had made a statement saying we would investigate. We are not saying it's a sabotage. We are saying we will not take nonsense. They should have made that statement. We will not take nonsense. You have an obligation. This country is because there are strategic requirements, there are strategic advantages to having this kind of a cable out of service in the country. Because, for example, in countries like the United States don't joke with cable cuts. They don't joke with cable cuts.
What's the implication of this on internal security?
Internal security, physically or digitally?
In every aspect, both physically and digitally.
Well, I will not deny the fact that security and internet, they go
Truly,
yes, they
hand
go
in
by.
hand.
And cyber crimes, criminals, terrorists, kidnappers actually use the internet to coordinate their operation. So, but that is on a more it comes down to our level. That comes down to our level, not on a cable level, internet subsea cable level, where you are trying to. It's not as simple.
So, like you mentioned something about data breaches. That our data.
No, they can't. The only
Because
the only incidents I remember about data breach when it comes to undersea cable was the CIA espionage issues years ago,
Yes.
where they used the landing stations, which is the point where the undersea cables terminate with on the shore, and they try to look at everybody's data, basically, espionage. That's the only incident I know that have been significant, because countries invest a lot. If I give you an example of a country like Egypt, which is, they call Egypt a choke point in the internet cable network, because so many cables goes undersea. But in Egypt, because of the strategic position of Egypt and the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, a lot of cables go ashore in Egypt. A lot. So Egypt is called a choke point because 17% of the world data traffic goes through Egypt, on land. So if you see Egypt, the world don't joke with Egypt. They don't joke with it because they know if Egypt have to, don't let me make that kind of assumption, but those cables have positioned Egypt strategically, globally. So, and these cables cross data from Red Sea through the Egypt ashore. As a matter of fact, there are about 3 countries in the world that have that kind of clusters, choke points. We have France, we have UK, we have Singapore, and we also now have Egypt. So for us, I think we need to just let this go. This matter is not as complicated as we seem, because first, yes, it will follow with investigation, because even the statement ITU made, that's International Telecommunications Union, the statement they made was eventually discovered it was false, because that incident was not a sabotage. Eventually, it was not a sabotage. But what I just want to see is let the world have a sense that Nigeria, we understand what we are doing. Make a firm statement. We are not accusing anybody, but take a first. We are not going to take nonsense with our undersea infrastructure. Let all these private companies know. We know you are powering it. Don't form some. So you are going to be responsible. Our banks, our telecoms have demonstrated high level of resilience, but the statement needs to be made clearly on official instrument of government, showing these incidents, we've seen it. We are not accusing you. We are not saying someone is sub, but you must investigate it. Give me a timeline to publish the investigation. Give me one. You need. There are more.
Should it be for one now? Should it be like their investigation to make? Should we have independent investigation? Should we also have government's involvement in such investigation?
We can have it always. We can have the government, but a private investigation is sufficient enough.
But should the service providers be the one,
yes.
Calling
yes,
or
yes.
pushing for this or doing it, actively, or should it rather be an independent body?
I think a serious independent body or a serious country might put an independent body in place to investigate it. But we might not have that resource for now. But a private investigation is sufficient enough. I don't see me one covering things like it's not their fault. They can't cut their own cable. For example, the Eastern example I gave you, I told you they impounded two ships. The example I gave you for Egypt, they arrested them. If one goes there and says, we've investigated, this is what the truth is, I am of the opinion that 90% chance is just normal, natural. That is not sabotage. 90% chance. Because the way the trend of undersea cables, It's not out of the ordinary.
Okay.
But one can investigate.
Right,
That's
but and briefly, I just want to take you back to an earlier point about you saying that even though more and more people are advocating for satellite, connectivity, you still have to depend.
Yes, you
on
will terminate back to the you can't just position satellite in orbit and make it there in so you will terminate back so everybody can connect to your satellite eventually.
Okay.
You terminate back to the
and so we should just sit it out. We should just sit this period out. What's your advice, basically, for
my advice
users?
is we should sit and open our eyes. We should sit it and watch this.
Do we have a choice?
Because it's a major. Yes, I've told you demonstrate our resilience, but it's a major concern. We see how this will turn up. We want to see. Yes, there's no sabotage, but we're not going to rule out anything. We want to see how do you manage the situation going forward. What is the result? What is the status as of today? Have you deployed the ships? Have they brought the repairs? Are they en route?
So
we need
monitoring,
updates.
right.
And one more
Right,
thing I need
timely
that I
updates.
feel is very important, which is the one I'll close for, the country needs to disclose to us at what capacity is our current national internet grid now. We know we have some cables offline.
Okay.
At what capacity are we functioning? We need to know.
All right, Stephen Oniya, thank you very much for this eye-opener and your contributions on this very bordering issue. Stephen Oniya, the technology expert. Many thanks. All right, a quick one there. We've told you about the impending SANU-NASU strike across public universities in the country. Well, now we have reports that the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities has shut the entrance gate into the Obafemi Awolowo University, OAU, in Ile-Ife, Osun State, and workers are now forced to park their vehicles at the gate. The union is protesting against the non-implementation of the agreement reached with the union. They are also dissatisfied with the decision of the federal government for paying backlog of salaries owed the Academic Staff Union of Universities